I have been waiting all day for this, y'all. Y'all don't understand. I've been dying to get on this get on this camera and look and get ready to break this shit down since last night. Let me find who I was about to shout out, because you know who you are. You already know who I'm about to say. Let me know you need to get to episode 8, because wait till you get to episode 8. It's about to go down. And shout out to Zierka. I think that's her name, Zierka. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. She said, wait till you get to episode 8, baby. Crazy. Steven, it's a big, because we was defending you, and now I'm about to get into him. I'm about to get into him. But if you guys are new here, please subscribe. Please thumbs up the video. Please drop a comment down below. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this episode. I know y'all are waiting on me to post these, but please drop y'all's thoughts down below. Pull up a seat, get a snack. I'm sorry I'm all in this mic. I was trying to push it over here. I did a little test run. You couldn't hear me. I'm gonna figure out this mic situation soon. But right now, I'm about to be all up in this mic. But y'all pull up a chair. I'm about to talk hella slow. I got hella nose. Like, look at this. Ooh, you can't even see. Hella fucking nose. I'm about to get into this. We're about to have a good time breaking this down. And yeah, let's go. All right, so we start off with a little scene of Ashley and Tyler. They're pretty much sitting there working, it looks like, from home. And Ashley's pretty much asking him, like, how involved does he want to be in the wedding? And he pretty much lets her know, like, he wants to be involved. Like, it seems like he wants to actually be actively involved. And she's pretty much like, I'm a woman. Like, this is a woman's dream. Like, this is what we want to do. We want to get married. This is the one thing that we dream of so much. You can be involved, but you're going to have to play the back seat. I'm going to be the main one involved, calling all the shots. So that's expected when it comes to a marriage. I feel like that's when it comes to a wedding, period. I feel like the woman always wants to be the primary one making all these choices, and the man essentially is the one that's supposed to fund it. That's my idea of it. But he's like, okay, I'll choose our kids' names. I said 3 of them names is already off the there's 3 names that you no longer have to choose from because they're already existing. But we'll get to that. But we get a scene of Monica and Steven. Monica and Steven had 3 scenes, and 3 of these scenes had 3 different energies. And it had 3 different energies with me too, because this scene I was excited. I was like, okay, Steven is actually taking initiative. He is actually putting forth the effort to make Monica happy. Like what I said, like her tripping out about to crash out over some flowers, it seemed like it was a lot. But like I said too, like if you said, and like what she said, if you said in the pause that you were going to do these things, you need to do these things. Because if that's what you did to get her, you need to stand by that. So he took initiative. He took it an extra step up. He takes Monica to this pressed floral workshop, which was really nice. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. Monica, obviously, she's excited because it's got something to do with flowers, and then it's something a little bit. It's a really nice date idea, like taking her somewhere where she can actually do more with the flowers. So it was really, really a nice idea, a nice touch. But he says he couldn't just get the flowers. He had to take it up a notch. So they meet the instructor that pretty much takes them through the process and doing what they're doing. So they finish doing everything. They start doing everything. Monica's like, so it's not a competition, but if it was, who would you have chosen? She's asking the instructor, and she ended up liking Stevens more. Monica's like, fuck, because, you know, Monica, you can tell Monica's very competitive. Like, she wanted her to say her, but she pretty much told Monica hers looks nice too. But Monica enjoyed it. She obviously thinks hers is prettier. Steven's like, you're right, yours is prettier. And they start kissing and whatever. But he then starts talking about the flowers, how nice they are. But this is better than just giving her just any old random flowers. And he went the extra mile. He thought that doing this and her appreciating it so much would get him laid. This man has a problem. And this was foreshadowing. We all knew that he had a problem as much as he talks about sex. And it's like, and I've said this so far this season, earlier in the season, sex is a big part of a relationship. Like, you do have to have a healthy sex life, because if you're not doing it with your partner, they're going to end up doing it with somebody else. It's crazy. But it's the truth. Like, if your partner is not sexually satisfied, they're probably going to go get it from somewhere else. And they're either going to leave you or they're going to cheat on you. Crazy who we're talking about. But, like I said, he has a problem though. You can tell he's like a sex fiend. Like, it's a different level type of horny that he's dealing with. But they then moved to talking about Taylor and Garrett. Taylor's dad is essentially like Monica's dad, about not wanting to be on camera. Like Monica's dad, he doesn't want to be on camera, but he's like, I'll walk you down the aisle or whatever. Whereas Taylor's dad is really not trying to be on camera, period. But she ends up telling him how her dad wants to meet Steven, and is seemingly optimistic, but he's obviously in the same mindset as most dads would be, kind of like questioning things. He whispered to her on the phone saying, how do you know he's not a liar like your last boyfriend? Dad's intuition was kicking in. But Steven ends up saying, like, that's funny. And I'm like, yeah, it is funny, huh? Like, it's really funny. But Steven ends up saying, like, he's relaxed for the first time in a long time, in a while. And he feels like he's where he's supposed to be. Bullshit, but we'll get to it. Nick and Hannah. Hannah, I want to start off, before we get to it, she impressed me this episode. Y'all know I've been one of Hannah's biggest critics, but she impressed me this episode. She impressed me more than she didn't. She had a moment where I was like, you need to calm down. But she impressed me this episode, but I'll get to it. But we get them going to Nick's parents' house, where we find out that Nick lives at his parents' house and has. I don't think that's an issue, but, and we find out he's 28. I forgot he was 20. I mean, he made me 29 now. I'm 29 years old. I've been out of my parents' house for the better part of the last decade. Like, I can't be at my parents' house. I love my own space. I've always loved my own space. I don't understand how people do it, but he's doing it. I'm not trying to judge him, but he's better than me. But he's showing her around the house and everything. She's pretty much seeing everything that's around the house. He lets us know the reason why he's still there is because over the past 2 years or so, he was still kind of in that journey with trying to go pro playing football. And that's essentially why he stayed at home. And he looked at it as like an opportunity for him to kind of like do all that stuff instead of having to like really worry about paying rent and doing all that extra stuff when necessarily he's not really needing to per se, because he doesn't really have stability at this point. So I understand that, like, going for your dream and not really having stability in terms of an actual paying job. You're just literally out here trying to make teams, hoping that you're going to get to the pros. I understand that. But now that you ain't, you got to find a way to get up out of there. But they're walking around the house. Hannah's noticing like all these, she's noticing how religious his mom is. And she asks if she would have an issue with her not being religious. And he ends up saying no. Like, as long as she knows and sees the good and the values in you, she'll accept you. But they start walking around the house, and what I notice is they're walking around with shoes on. That shit would never fly in my household, the household I grew up in, my grandparents. That just don't fly. You take them shoes off before you enter the house. But he then lets her know that she's one of 3 women. She's now the 3rd girl that he's brought back to the house. He doesn't really bring many girls home. And he pretty much asked her, like, how long, well, she asked him, how long has he lived in the basement? Because that's where he lives, in their house. And he said he's lived there for 2 years and before he was upstairs. But she pretty much talks to him about that. And he's like, well, once we get married, we'll essentially have to move in. Talking about moving into the parents' house. Hannah, I was with Hannah. Hannah said no. She was like, no, we ain't moving in. I'm not moving in the basement. We moving in my place. I feel her on that. I'm not moving in nobody's parents' house. No. But we get a scene with Marissa and Ramsey. This is the only scene that we have for them. But they're out with her 3 friends at the bar. They're cheersing to the 2 of them. And the friends start asking everything about what's going on, how the experience was. They're talking about how easy it was for them, how they talked about trauma, finances, lifestyle, religion. So then that then brings in the conversation again. Ramsey talks about how last night was kind of like their first challenging conversation, talking about the military service, everything like that. Shout out to y'all for thugging it through my recap, because I was struggling trying to talk, first of all, because I was so tired from talking all day at work. But then I was struggling trying to get my words out, trying to figure out how I was going to navigate that without not really knowing too much about what they're talking about. Because like I said, I don't like being ignorant. Like, I don't like speaking on things that I don't know too much about. But anyways, we keep going, and she's talking about like how this is the first time that someone has been apprehensive about her service, like what she's done in the military. And one of her friends was like, the one that was actually in the military service as well, her body language, you could tell she was kind of like, oh, okay. But then one of her other friends was asking Ramsey's like, if she was to get back active, would it be a problem? And he pretty much says yes. Like, Ramsey's, I respect this about him. He's very honest and he's very straightforward. Like, he Doesn't really hide anything. Like, he's very straightforward with the way that he feels and what he believes, and you can't fault him for that. He is being very straightforward. But he says it's more so like a morality type of thing for him, like, because his politics are tied into his ethics, and it's a part of who he is. I fully agree with that. I fully agree with that. But I agree with that, and I'm gonna elaborate on it because he said something else that kind of like made me contradict, or made him sound like he was contradicting what he was saying. But I'll get to it. But she then says, like, even though you love her, would that still be an issue? And he says yes, like it would be. But her friend, who was in the service, ends up saying like, it's something that they're proud of, like being in the military and have actually served for their country. And she says she loves the military. And he was pretty much saying, like, I understand that. I don't want to pass judgment on y'all or anybody that has served if they've been in the military. But he says, like, if you have friends that are walking around with MAGA hats, he wouldn't cut them off because they could be a good person. Me, and this is what I said, this ties back into what he said, like when he said, like, your politics are tied into your ethics. That applies there. That's where I see when it comes to, and if you're a Trump supporter, take this as you will. You're probably going to be offended with what I say. That's just how I feel. Take it as you will. But I feel like if you support that man, knowing the things that he said and the things that he supports, you look like that too. And I look at you that way. I feel like if you can support somebody that says the things that he does, that says a lot about you. That tells me that you are no further from him. If I don't have any friends that are Trump supporters, I'm just telling you that now. I don't. Because what do we have in common? Like, if he doesn't like people of color, which he makes it very, very apparent that he doesn't, I don't have anything, like, I don't have anything to do with you. I don't. I'm all about loving everybody for who they are. Like, white, black, indifferent, whatever your sexual orientation, I don't care. Do you. I want you to be you. And if you, I don't have an issue with that. So if anybody has an issue with you just being you for you, then I can't support that. But they end up getting into his background. He ends up letting them know that he's Venezuelan and they have a complicated history with the United States. So he talks about how hard it is for him to see himself with somebody who is actively involved in the U.S. military. So Marissa ends up starting to talk about how the way they're going to teach their kids growing up about religion and military, and pretty much states like, we're not going to force them into doing certain things, like force them into going into the military or whatever. But if they decide to do that, I'm going to support them. And Ramsey pretty much echoes that same sentiment, pretty much stating like he's going to allow his kids to make those decisions for themselves, which is good, because I do believe in that. I believe you can definitely raise your kids a certain way, but if your kid decides to go a different way and do something different, that's their choice. Like, you can raise your kids to have values, and you can raise your kids to be good people. And I feel like as long as they're not doing anything to compromise that, I don't feel like it should be an issue. When I have kids, if my kids want to do any and everything, as long as it's not hurting them or anybody else, I'm going to always support them. So I feel like that's the way as a parent you should be. But they get the conversation back on easier, lighter grounds, talking about their connection or whatever. They're reiterating all of that, talking about how happy they are. And her friend Brenda, she ends up getting emotional because she's stating how much, obviously, as her friends, they just want the best for her. We move to the next day. This scene right here, boy. This scene right here. If you're new to me, you don't know this. But if you're not new to me, you know I've always said I'm a thug, boy. I'm a thug. When I say I'm a thug, I don't cry. I'm not a crier. I always say I feel like you should only cry if you break a bone or somebody dies. That's what I always say. I can probably tell you the last time. I can't tell you the last time I cried, actually, apart from what I'm about to tell you. But Alex and Tim, they're at their apartment. He's cooking up food on the grill. She comes back there and lets Tim know that her dad is the only one in the family that doesn't know. He doesn't know about the experience. He doesn't know any of that. So they're pretty much trying to set up a game plan on how to approach the conversation about them living together, the experiment, easing into the proposal. But she wants them to leave the proposal out first, just kind of like ease into everything else first. And he's like, then I'll talk to him after that. She then says that he can't get up because his walking is limited. As we know, he has MS, and his seems to be a lot worse now than her mother's. But her mom, her brothers, they're in there as well. And she says like her brothers and her mom, they'll get up and allow them two to talk. So Tim talks about how much Alex's love for her family is a big part in the reason why he fell in love with her. Obviously, we know how deeply he is invested with his family and how much he loves his family as well. So that's a big part. And that would be a big part for me too. Like, family means a lot. And to see your family mean so much to you would mean so much to me. But she's excited that she's gotten her parents in the same room, because Alex goes back into the room with her family while Tim is still outside. And she's telling her parents, like, she's happy that she got them in the same room. It's been a while since that's happened. Her mom was like, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen him. And she asked her dad how he's feeling about meeting Tim. And he's like, do I really have a choice? And it's really, what got me was the contrast. Like, at the beginning of the scene, her dad was like super laid back. Like, you could tell he was like how a dad normally is. Like, I don't really want to see this nigga that's coming in here to take my daughter, but you want him, so I have to hear him out. That's pretty much what he's doing, like playing the tough guy role. And her dad, you can tell already, his MS is really like taking a toll on him. You can tell, like, his speech, he's kind of speech impaired, but you can understand what he's stating too. But you can tell they have a really, really good family dynamic. Her brothers, they look like twins. She's the older sister, which I found so interesting, how she's the older sister with 2 younger brothers, and he's the younger brother with 2 older sisters. It's just crazy how a lot of their things in their family and their life kind of correlates. But it was cool. But her family's a beautiful family. You can tell they are really, really good people. You can tell that. But where was I at? He says he's interested in meeting Tim though. He said, I can't say I'm excited, but I'm interested in meeting him. So she ends up letting him know that she chose to be with him. He chose to be with her. They've had endless conversations about their upbringing, what's important to them living together, wanting to make sure that they like him, because if they don't like him, she doesn't see herself being with him. She can't see herself being with him. But Tim then comes in. He comes in with the food. He greets the family. You can tell he's nervous as he's doing this. But he comes and sits with Alex. They're all, because the family is sitting in front of Alex and Tim. They're sitting like on the little bar stools by the island, facing the family. So Alex's brothers, they're getting to know him and everything, and Tim is sitting there talking to them. They're kind of relating on the sibling aspect that I just broke down to y'all. The mom ends up asking him about his life. Well, he ended up talking about his life, pretty much, like what his occupation is, yada yada. So the mom ends up asking, like, have y'all had an argument yet? They both were very straightforward and very honest about what they did, about how they did have an argument. They both took accountability for their wrongdoings and pretty much stated that they're committed to learning from their mistakes. And you could tell the dad loved hearing that. That is good to hear. Like I said, watching it, I was like, because we all know both of them had some moments about them that were kind of like, ugh, I just don't see it working. But to see that they both took accountability for where they both were wrong in the situation, it makes me look at their relationship a lot differently now. But and you could tell they were being honest about it too. But the mom ends up asking Tim, was there a particular question that convinced him that Alex was the one? And he said it's more than just the question. It's really more so the moments that they've shared. He talks about how he's never cried so much in his life. He said pretty much letting her know, or letting the family know, that he lost his sisters, and how Alex was pretty much there, like that ear for him, and just being able to allow him to just kind of vent and just be himself, let her into his experience, let him just kind of get his feelings off on her. And he says pretty much that's what made him realize that she was the one, because he felt accepted. Alex then transitions into them getting to the food. Tim lets them know that he made them steak and chicken wings, and that food looked good, boy. I was like, damn, Tim could cook. But the dad ends up asking Tim about his time in the Navy, and you could tell Tim's starting to loosen up. The dad is starting to loosen up. Like, you could tell he's starting to trust Tim. Like, you could tell he's starting to like him. So Tim and Alex, they're bonding over their love for golfing, both being born in England. I was like, this is crazy how they have so much in common too. Like, him and Alex have some things in common, a lot of things in common, honestly. I feel like they're more so alike now than I did, which is why they probably butt heads so much, is because they're so much alike, low key. They don't. You have to really sit and think about it to see the similarities that they have. But he's, like I said, the dad is loosening up so much more now that he sees, like, we have a lot in common. He's starting to really like Tim. The brother likes how they share so many interests. But the dad then says, like, that's the one thing that MS had robbed him of, was being able to be out there and golfing so much. My dad is the same way. My dad is literally the same way. My sister, she loves golfing more than me, but I love golfing too. I just don't really go all the time because I don't really have the time to do it, but my sister does. But like me and my dad and my sister, we're going to go golfing in a couple weeks. But that's just one thing that we do. My uncles do it, which is my dad's brother. My grandpa, like, this is just it's just something that we all do. So I understand that too. But Alex was like, yeah, he'd be out there on the golf course every single day. And then Tim ends up transitioning into wanting to have his one-on-one with Alex's dad. So he asked pretty much everybody else, can I just have this time with him? So Alex then takes her mom, brothers, and his dog outside. Tim then sits down and lets him know, before he even saw Alex, he knew Alex. He knew she was the person for him, and he knew that he wanted to make her his wife. But he knew how important it was to have this conversation with him, her dad, and said that he had read a letter to Alex in the pods, but that letter was addressed to him, her father, and he'd like to read it to him. You can already see in this moment, like Tim was nervous, but the dad, you could tell he was low-key kind of nervous to hear what he's about to say. This is where it started to get me, boy. I was like, oh, God. Because I was watching with my sister. My sister had already watched the episode. She's watched all, like, she's caught up. And she did that yesterday. But we was literally working. We both working from home this week. And I'm sitting there working, and I'm watching it. And she's sitting there watching me watch it. Because she know I ain't no emotional person. She'll cry at the drop of a hat. She watches anything and starts crying. So she's sitting there looking at me as I'm watching it. Because she already told me she was bawling watching it. I'm like, okay, that's nothing new. But I start watching. Tim starts reading over the touching letter that he had read to Alex in the pods already. So we already know what he was about to say. And pretty much just praising her dad for how well he's done, raising her, pretty much giving him the reassurances that he will love and respect her, treat her with care, treat her the way that a man is supposed to, and pretty much ask for his hand, his blessing to take her hand in marriage. As he was reading, her dad was just getting emotional. And he got so emotional, his voice started cracking. He told Tim to just let him have a moment to gather his thoughts. You can tell he was overcome with emotions. And he takes a moment and tells Tim, like, that's my baby girl. And then what started to get me was just him talking. And then I just started thinking as he was talking, he's like, this is my baby girl. We just met. I believe in you. I believe what you wrote. I believe what you said. I believe it came from the heart. I accept you as my son. My eyes was getting glassy at this point, boy. His voice started choking up and saying that Tim has his blessing and he welcomes him into his family. And Tim says he can't wait. They had a really nice moment. He goes back outside. Tim goes outside to go get the family and lets them know that he said yes. This is where them glassy eyes got the tears started streaming. Your boy was thug tearing, boy. I was like, damn, this is beautiful to see. Because I was just literally thinking about Alex. I was watching her dad and I was thinking about her. I'm like, it explains so much about her now. Like how she seemed mean. But it's like you think about how she grew up. Like she kind of had to grow up quick because her parents have had MS for a while, as we know. And she's got 2 kids. And I'm not about to cry. I'm not about to cry. That was not my voice shaking. I was just literally losing breath. But it's just like you look at her and you realize like she's had to be strong. She's got 2 younger brothers and she's got 2 parents who are battling health conditions. And it's just beautiful to see. Like his voice is cracking. When she walked in, he motioned her over there like this and they just hug each other, both of them crying. It was really a beautiful, beautiful moment. And it made me just realize that I really want these 2 to actually make it now. Like this moment meant, you could tell it meant a lot for them. And you could tell like they could possibly work. I really do believe they could possibly work because they have such a good foundation so far. They know each other for real. They do. I hope they make it. I hope they do. I haven't seen episode 9 yet, so don't tell me what happened yet. I'm going to try and watch that and get that out tonight. But I wanted to take my time with this one, especially this scene, because this scene was special. It's the first time I done cried in a long time, and it's the first time I've ever cried watching the TV show. I'll tell you that now. But, yeah. But Taylor and Gary, we get a scene of them walking around her area. She shows him her apartment. She's kind of like in this like downstairs basement type apartment window. And she ain't got shit in her fridge. Nothing but protein shakes, beer, and wine. I said, that's crazy for you as a woman to not have no food up in there. That's crazy. But they start talking about moving to San Diego because that's where her family is. She wants to move closer to her family. She wants to raise her family there. And she wants to go out there, pretty much let him feel around it. out there, see if he really likes it before really committing to doing so. And he wants to do it as well. He said he was open to it in the pods. He said it's just being away from his family that's the hard part, which I understand, because San Diego is all the way on the other side of the country. Like, his family's in Pennsylvania. They're on two completely different coasts. That's the West Coast, and then that's the East Coast. So that's a big commute, because like if he wants to see his family, he's barely going to see them that often throughout the years. So, in which I was like, they probably should move Midwest, like move somewhere like Central America, where you both have an equal commute to your family, where it's a happy medium. Like, he's not fully going full cold turkey, where you out here chilling with everybody that you know, and he has to start fresh and start new. Y'all start fresh and new together. That's my thought process behind it, but whatever. But he knows that his family will naturally be upset about it. They wouldn't want him to be all the way across the country, because they want to be a part of him, like starting a family, having kids. They want to be able to see them as often as they can, which I understand, because me growing up, I've always been around my grandparents. I'm so grateful. At 29 years old, I still have both sets of my grandparents on my mom and my dad's side. And I'm lucky that, because my parents, they live like 5 minutes away from me. And my grandparents, they live an hour and a half away, but they've always lived an hour and a half away from us. And it's nothing to drive up there and go see them. And they've come down. Like, I've always been super close to both sets of my grandparents, because I've always seen them growing up. So I never really missed or didn't have a real relationship with either of them. So I understand that importance of a grandparent being around their grandchildren and being around their son and their daughter. So that's the big part. That's something that they're going to have to work out. Hopefully they get on the same page, stay on the same page, so that it works out for them. But she also talks about how, like, her job will also get her and require her to be back in DC from time to time. So it's not like they're completely disappearing off to San Diego. But I'm like, move Middle America, make it work. But we get another scene of Monica and Steven at the apartment. Steven comes home and we find out Steven ain't got no job. I'm like, did you have a job? Like, did you really have a job? Which I think is crazy. Like, how are y'all going on these shows? Like I said, if I was to ever do a reality show, you got to pay me. I got to know that I'm getting paid some money to where I don't have to come back and have to go work a corporate job. Like, if I leave my job that is paying these bills, I need to know that when I leave that show that I went to go film, that I'm going to be straight. Like, I got to be straight. But he ain't got no job, but she pretty much reassures him that she's got his back and says that she'll be his sugar mom. I said, wow. But he sounded like he was perfectly fine with that. You already know, if you haven't watched already my reviews, I've already said I'm the type of man that does not want a woman taking care of me. I want to be the one providing. If I don't have a job, I'm going to find a way to get one really, really soon. And if I got to work 5 or 6 jobs, I'm going to have to do it. I don't want to be... It's just, I guess it's something in me. Maybe it's the way I was raised. My dad has been that type that's always a go-getter. So you find a way as a man. You got to provide. You got to find a way. You got to find a way. But he says that he's perfect. He's perfectly okay with her treating him like a piece of meat, a.k.a. come fuck me whenever you want to. I said, dude, you got a problem, bro. Like, you got a problem. But she ends up saying they've had great sex. But when he expressed concern about the wedding, she didn't want to just bend it over and give it to him. Basically saying, like, if you don't want to get married to me, I'm not about to keep having sex with you. And I completely agree with her taking that stance. And she said, that's why we haven't had sex. But he then starts talking about how some women you just have to figure out. Like, you got to figure them out. They then start talking about his sexual fetishes. He's talking about sticking his dick in pineapples and macaroni and cheese. I'm like, what the fuck do he be talking about? Like, this is the type of conversations he be having. Like, when he be having conversations and stuff and starting to talk, you be like, okay, just let him talk. Because Monica be like, I don't want to hear you talking. And I'm like, let him talk, because he might be saying something of substance. And then he ends up saying shit like this. And I'm like, that's why she didn't want him to talk. That's why she be looking at him like, oh, what the fuck is wrong with you? But he then starts talking about if he had a vagina, he'd be able to compare the difference between childbirth and getting kicked in the balls. I'm like, what goes through your brain? He's like 32 or 33 years old. This is what you think about on a day-to-day basis. Like, where's the substance? But she's like, are you well? Are you okay? I'm like, right? Like, what do you be talking about? But he then decides and says that he doesn't need sex, but if she doesn't want to, he doesn't want her to feel like she has to be forced to doing it. Obviously, I hope you wouldn't force her into doing that. But she says like she just wants to feel safe and insecure in a relationship. And then he starts joking about having anal sex. I'm like, here's the foreshadow right here. But Nick and Hannah, this is where Hannah impressed me. Hannah is at home deep cleaning, boy, deep cleaning. I said, okay, she deep cleaning. And you can tell she is very OCD. I can relate. I'm very OCD. As y'all know, I like to get videos out at the same time as soon as I can. And that's just me in general. Like, my life is literally planned. I do the same thing every single day. Every day. And every single day is a little bit more complex than the next, but it's all the same thing. I wake up at the same time every day. I go to the gym at the same time every day. On the days I'm off, I get my hair cut. I start to do errands, all that stuff. I clean, get groceries, all that type of shit. I get her. I understand her. But he comes walking in. Nick comes walking in from work as she's cleaning. He says that his shirt is smelly and he's going to change shirts. I said, sir, get in the tub, boy. Like, if your shirt is dirty, that means you're dirty. You need to go clean. Don't get your funky ass in a new shirt that is clean. But he thanks her for cleaning. She's like, she's still cleaning at this point. He's telling her how he's got these two new buyer clients that he needs to talk to or whatever. And she's still cleaning. And she's like, can you get this trash? Here's a moment where she showed, okay, she might have been on to something yesterday. Whenever I did the recap yesterday, I was like, why are you sitting here acting like he won't take some trash out? She did have to tell him to take their trash out. If you sitting here watching her clean and you see a bag full of trash, take that shit out. She shouldn't have to tell you that. And that's what she had to do, and that's what she was talking about. So I give you that point, Hannah. I give it to you. But they then sit down. She got this dry erase board. You can tell, like I said, she's very planned. She's got all this stuff down that you can tell she probably got all this stuff that she wanted to talk to him about. But she starts addressing the duties that they would have around the house as they're going to be married. And she's like, now that we're married, all my responsibilities are yours and vice versa. Pretty much saying like, this is my dog, but when we get married, the duties that come with my dog are now your duties. That is true. But she then asked him like, how many times do you vacuum? Asking like real questions that you probably should have asked in them pods, but she's asking it now. But she's like, I'm very clean. I vacuum every day. I'm sure she does because she's got a dog. She sweeps every day. She does once a week. She's very, very clean. Good to know. But she ends up saying, like, if you're out getting groceries, text me, ask me what I need. Same thing, vice versa. I agree with that. That is very, very smart. Like, it saves time. It saves energy. But she says, like, if we spend $300 on grocery, we can go in half. And he's like, I don't think groceries will be that much. I said, sir, what are you talking about? Because I agree with her. I spend about $250 on groceries. I do. But that lets you know that he eats out all the time. Like, you spend too much money. Like, go get your groceries and you'll be able to keep money in the house. Because when you go out and eating all the time, that's going to add up. Because if you eating all day, say you eat 3 meals a day, depending on what you eating, you could spend $100 a day. Like, whereas you can go to the grocery store, get your breakfast, lunch, and dinner for $300, and that'd be straight for the week. And you ain't got to spend no money. Smart. She's making sense. But she then moves to finances. He pretty much wants to play it by ear on their finances and stuff. And she's like, like, when we get married, like, we need to have all of this stuff landed. We need to start planning this right now. And that's what she's doing. She's like, do you want to have joint accounts? Like, if you got debt, that's going to be my debt. She's pretty much laying it all out. And as she's laying it out, you can tell that he has not thought about any of this because he's taken off guard. And she's pretty much laying everything out. And everything she's saying is true. Like, you can tell she is very, very financially savvy. And it's good to see that, because with her saying that she was more mature than him, I'm like, in what way? This is a way. She proved it. Life skills in terms of like how to make it on her own, she's got that wrapped up. You can tell she does. And you can tell that he's not lived out on his own and he's been living with his parents. But they start breaking down bills and all that stuff. But regardless, the way she was talking to him, though, she was talking at him at this point. And I could see how that would make somebody be upset, because you can't talk at me. Because when you talk at me, I'm going to be wanting to have an issue with you. But she was making valid points. It's just the way she talks. But she pretty much also addresses that she's got a bad habit with liking to do things her way. And he might do certain things that she wouldn't do, and that's okay. And she says, we're both ambitious people. We both have good hearts, and I feel like we're best friends. She's basically stating, like, I accept you for your flaws. Like, good to know. Good to know, because that's the most important part about an actual marriage and being in love with somebody. You got to accept them for everything that they are, which is their flaws as well. We get a scene with Ashley and Tyler. They're meeting with her pops, who is clean as fuck. He looked like he could have literally been her older brother. But he ends up letting Tyler know that that's his one and only daughter. You already know. That's my world. Like, you better take care of her. And he's like, well, from what I've heard from her, you make her very happy. And he pretty much asked him, like, what made you think that she's the one for you? And Tyler says, like, she's made me feel safe. Like, we talked about everything. I said, have you? He then starts talking about how she's allowed him to be himself and tell her about his family, how he grew up. She accepted him for everything, and she's so genuine and honest. I said, so are you? But he's like, her dad is like, she's a total package. She's a ride or die. She won't quit on you. Tyler's like, yeah, I'm a ride for her too. And Pops is like, are you sure? I'm like, is he sure? But Tyler ends up getting into his occupation. Pops is like, you pretty smart. He also mentions how he had proposed to Ashley on his birthday. And her dad is like, as a man, how can you protect my daughter? How can you protect her? Like, I'm turning her over to you now. So I need to know, like, are you really going to do what you need to do to make sure that my daughter is good? And Tyler's talking about how he's not a cheater and he's not going to lie to her. I said, that's not what the people said. But Pops had asked how he feels about kids. I'm like, all this stuff that he should have been talking about that he has not talked about is now being talked about here, which is crazy. Not being talked about, but, you know, the topics are being talked about. But he says that he's more than ready for that. I said, I bet you are. But her dad is saying, like, pretty much ask Ashley, too, like, what is it about Tyler that you like? She pretty much says, like, he makes me feel safe to be soft. It's the little things that he does, like, in the real world, how he is being a gentleman, like, opening the door for her, doing everything for her to make sure that she doesn't have to do anything because he's there to do it for her, which is what a man should do. And she's like, it's just unheard of. It's unfamiliar with this current era that we are in dating. This generation is not like that. She's not lying. A lot of that is true. But the way that he loves her is also something that she's never expected and not expected, something that she's never actually had in a past relationship. So her dad said he doesn't take it lightly and it's serious to him, obviously. But he tells Ashley to go away and let them talk as men. Tyler then takes that opportunity to pretty much reassure her dad that he loves Ashley and pretty much lets him know that he proposed. And he asks him for his blessing as well. And obviously her dad says yes. He accepts him because his daughter accepted him. And he's like, whatever's best for her is what I want. And if she's happy with you, I know it's a good thing because she does not make decisions lightly. So he's pretty much reassuring him of that. Ashley then comes back to the table, and Tyler reassures him again, and her dad was like, yeah, you have my blessing. And he starts getting emotional as well. Tyler and Ashley are sitting there just letting him process everything, but he pretty much says, like, I'm on this journey with y'all. I'm nervous to see that episode for tomorrow. But we then move to the most concerning music in the world, and I was like, oh shit, what's about to go down? We get Monica and Taylor. They're sitting there in their apartment, Steven and Monica's apartment, and they're crying. Taylor's crying too. Monica's stating she's so shocked right now. Taylor's saying, like, I'm so sorry. So they're sitting in the living room talking, and Taylor asks Monica if she's met Steven's family. She's like, no, I'm supposed to do it this weekend on Sunday. Taylor then asks, like, how she found it, or she adds how she found it weird how when they were in Mexico about that conversation, that moment that Steven had pretty much said, like, in a year, basically when the show airs and everybody knows who we are, there's going to be women that's going to be wanting to suck me off. And she's like, I found that weird. And I'm like, yeah, I found that weird too. Because, like, what are you talking about? And Monica ends up saying, like, it's disgusting. And she's like, he went to do a sleep test. Y'all tell me what the hell that is. What is a sleep test? He went to do a sleep test, and she was like, I don't know if he did it or not because he damn sure didn't come back here. I said, damn. And as they're sitting in there crying and talking shit, he's walking in. I'm like, is this the same apartment? Because I was like, are they literally doing a scene where he's in another apartment? He was in that fucking kitchen while they were sitting in there in the living room talking that shit. I said, oh. So they sitting in there crying. Taylor then gets up and goes and walks out. Steven brings his sorry bitch ass in here, and he sits down with Monica. Sitting there looking guilty as fuck. I'm like, yeah, you ain't shit. Like, you ain't shit. But she says reading them texts with fetishes was disgusting. So he's still on this sex shit. I said, he needs help. He sounded like he was sexting a woman, apparently. And he's like, yeah, you're right. She's like, stop saying I'm right. I know I'm right. Like, say something else. Like, who the fuck are you? I don't even know who you are anymore. So she then asked him, like, like, were you genuinely at this sleep test last night? And he says, yes. She says, I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe it either, honestly. And he says, I don't think there's anything I can say that you would believe. And she's like, say something that I could believe. Is there anything that I should believe? And I'm like, right, exactly. Like, everything that you're saying. And it just makes me think back to everything that I said at the beginning when he started talking about him being a cheater, him being a Trump supporter. The insensitive comments. I don't want to say insensitive, but the kind of like eye-raising comments, like calling her a mud. It's just like certain things that he did were the red flags is red flagging. But she ends up saying that, and he says like he didn't pretend anything, because she was like, you're basically pretending or whatever. He said, I didn't pretend anything. She says, yes, you did. You pretended that you wanted to get married. And he denies that and says that he did something stupid and made a mistake with someone while he was drunk at the sleep test, and ended up texting that girl, whoever the fuck he was talking to. But she ends up saying, like, you were doing it today. Don't fucking lie to me. Like, he pretty much tried to say, like, he only did it last night. She's like, no, you was doing that today. Like, don't fucking lie to me. You texted her today, and the ones that were today were the grossest ones. They were the nastiest ones. So he in there talking greasy. He's talking crazy to that girl, which is crazy that you doing this when you literally was just like, come use me and abuse me, basically. I hope I don't get demonetized for that. But he ended up denying that he did that. She asked to see his phone, because he's sitting there trying to say, like, I didn't text her today. Let me see your phone. He says, I deleted them texts. Of course you did. Of course you did. But she says, like, they started yesterday and went through today. And he says that he didn't remember texting her today, but he knew what he was doing. And she says, you ain't know what you was doing last night. And he said, yeah, I did know. It was coupled with the conversation that we had last night. She cut him off and said, don't you fucking blame me for what you did. And he says, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to take accountability, which is why he's getting his stuff and leaving her alone. She said, great, but before you leave, Venmo me my money. I said, I know that's right. She said, Venmo me my money, because I've been sending you money carrying in your weight. Because as we know, he's unemployed. I've been carrying your weight the last couple of days. So send me my fucking money right now. She said, take the phone out right now and send that shit to me. He pulls it out. She ain't check her phone. She better than me. I'd have checked my phone and made sure every penny was back in my bank account. But she ends up then saying, like, how she feels embarrassed, like how like she's giving him so much of her heart, and said, like, how was you gonna go shake my dad's hand this weekend after you've literally been planning and plotting on cheating on me? And then she starts like fake gagging, like, oh, you disgusting. You know how she got it all over her face. Her face was facing. But like I said, he's got a problem. Like, he's a sex addict. Something ain't right with him. But he ends up saying that he will live with this, and he's sorry for hurting her, wasting her time coming on the show, doing this to her, saying that he ends up saying that I shouldn't have come on the show. I said, and she said, what a selfish piece of shit thing to say. Like, because you came on the show and put a ring on my finger, and now you're saying that you shouldn't have come on the show. So it's basically like, you really don't give a fuck about me. Like, you literally are telling me now that you basically just did this for show. Like, you basically saying you're not even trying to fight for it. Like, you can tell, like, he really don't care about Monica. Monica was an object to him. That's what I'm gathering from it. Like, the way he just wanted to fuck. Like, that's just literally what it was. And you came on TV, you wanted the clout. You wanted the women to see you on TV. You wanted to be able to have the pick of the litter. And you want to stick your dick everywhere you wanted to stick it. And that's the problem. That's a problem. And whoever's been fucking on him, I hope you're getting checked. Because it don't sound like he's into contraception. And that's how a lot of issues, little bumps start to occur. So be safe out here if you're dealing with him. But she then starts crying because he walks away. And it's basically fucked up. Like, she's crying. It's fucked up for her because he robbed her of her experience. I can't stand when these niggas get on these shows, and the women sometimes too, get on these shows and play with the people that they're on the show to supposedly come on here and find love with. And in this particular situation, with this particular experience, it sucks because she could have spent more time investing her time into somebody else, but she spent more time investing into him just for him to turn around and not be taking this experience seriously. And it's just fucked up because she just wasted her time. But he takes his sorry ass up out of there, and Taylor and Garrett come in to comfort Monica, telling her how much she didn't deserve that. And she didn't deserve it. Even though Monica, I told y'all I don't like her, I was fully on her side. fully on her side. But I took my time. I wanted to get through that and really get my thoughts out. Y'all let me know y'all's thoughts down below. Blow this video up. I need y'all to hit the like button. Smash that bitch. Smash it. Drop in them comments. Spam me. I want to hear everything. But share the video. Do all that. I'm going to try. It's 7:06 right now. I'm going to try and I'm going to put this up and then go watch episode 9 and try and get that out so I can be fully up to date because I want to see what... Because apparently it got even worse. So we'll see. I'll see y'all in a minute. So peace.